Welcome to the Mission 1000 podcast, where every 1,000 lives we ensure we will be changing the life of a family who has been devastated in a bad way. But for now, we are here to share the story of Kyle Pfaffe and his mission in developing little leaders in his role as a leader. I hope you enjoy. All right, welcome into another episode of Mission 1000 podcast. Today we've got an amazing guest who is doing big things in the Austin area. I would like to welcome into the Mission 1000 podcast, Kyle Pfaffe. How's it going, Kyle?
Hey, Jordan. Good. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, man. Uh, our mutual friend Patrick Pitts put us in connection together. He's a great guy. I imagine you've known him for a little while now, and he was telling me a lot about you, and he thinks quite a bit about you. And he started telling me a little bit about what you have going on in the Austin area, and we're going to be getting to that here very shortly. But first, tell us where you're from and what got you to Austin.
So I am a Wisconsinite
Okay.
by birth, born in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which is kind of in the northern part of the state. When I was about in kindergarten, my family moved to a little town called Watertown, Wisconsin, with about 20,000 people. That's kind of halfway between Milwaukee and Madison in the southern part of the state. Grew up there, went to college there, small college town, graduated with a degree in arts and concentration in business. Started working for Coca-Cola up there in Milwaukee and had an opportunity to transfer as part of working for Coca-Cola. My wife and I were just married. Kind of, it wasn't the most mature decision. Looking just to move somewhere a little bit warmer than the climate that Wisconsin has, and
Which is
and
almost
me being
anywhere.
what's that?
Which is almost anywhere that you decide to move would be warmer than
Yes,
Wisconsin.
yes. So her criteria was somewhere warmer, and my criteria was somewhere with a lot of sports going on. And so we ended up
Hey.
in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Um, Moved down here in August of 2008, which was weeks after our first child, our daughter was born. And didn't know anyone in the Austin area. And that was 13 years ago. And over the last 13 years, Austin has become home, and we love it here.
Yeah. Well, we share something in common. My firstborn was also born in 2008. That's pretty cool. And there's got to be no chance you're lactose intolerant either, right? You still got cheese in your blood?
Yeah, yeah. We have some good cheese down here, but it's not like it was back up in Wisconsin. So every now and then, my mom will send me a package down, or something like that. So
That's
we do love cheese.
Yeah, that's amazing. And cheese curds, which is hard to find down here, A plus.
Yep, yep.
So you moved to Austin, which, as everyone who knows anything about NFL knows, there's no NFL team in Austin. But you're from Wisconsin, so are you a Packer fan?
No, I'm a Vikings fan. My parents were born and raised in Minnesota, so I was raised a Vikings fan in the heart of Packer country. So Monday mornings after a Packer Viking game were either great or torture, with everyone else being a Packer fan.
I bet.
But I'm
I'm
not a
sure you
Cowboys
had a target on your back quite a bit. Especially,
fan.
historically, the Packers have been better than the Vikings most years, right?
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Okay. Anyways, moving on. You are in the Austin area. You're doing some big things, and so let's go ahead and jump into that. And you have joined up and really helped propel a nonprofit sports organization in the Austin area that is developing kids' athletic and mental abilities, of course, with Unity Select Sports. Tell us about a little of the history of Unity Select Sports.
Yeah, Unity Select Sports is an organization that I kind of stumbled on through some other coaches and friends. It's an organization that was started in the Austin area in 2016 by the current president, Dedrick Bradfield. Uh, he he is a quarterback trainer. He's a coach. Does a lot of athletic development for youth in the area. But he started the organization back in 2016. I was introduced to the organization a little over a year and a half ago, and at which point I joined him as one of the board of directors. I'm currently serving as the athletic director with him, and I've been in that role for a little over a year and a half. But yeah, it's a youth sports organization, a 501c3 that's mainly in the North Austin area. We have kids from Round Rock, Cedar Park, Leander, Georgetown, Bastrop, Elgin. I mean, any really kind of like an hour radius around North Austin is where the kids that come to Unity from. And it was when I first met D, it was kind of a breath of fresh air to be able to work with someone who shared the vision that I had and the the values for youth sports. There's a lot of different organizations that are out there when you start looking at youth sports, and they all have their purpose. Some are better at some things, and others are better at different things. But for me, it was more about the culture and the values that was the most important thing, and where I really identified with D and the vision he had for Unity.
That's great. And right now, you guys, you've got a number of sports that you offer within the program. And so you're currently working with football, you're currently working with basketball, you're currently working with track, 7-on-7, which is also football, but right, another
Yep.
form, right? And
Mhm.
I'm leaving something out. What am I leaving out?
Basketball, actually my
Basketball.
favorite, but
That's your,
yes,
yeah, yeah, Patrick's too, right?
yep.
Basketball. Awesome. And you're currently at what, about 300 kids in the program right now?
Yeah, in a calendar year, we have anywhere from two to probably right around 300 kids that participate in all of our programs across football, basketball, track, and cheer too. I don't think we mentioned that, but we have
Here.
cheerleading too.
Yes. And I imagine, in a post-pandemic world where people are getting out more and more. Of course, we're in Texas, so it didn't last as long as some other places, but
Right.
should see some growth in the sports arena here for kids getting back out, right?
Yeah, the Unity had some hard times a couple years ago with the pandemic and some other extenuating circumstances. And we were really just when I partnered up with D a little over a year and a half ago, along with some other coaches and parents that were involved, we were really trying to really reestablish and build Unity back up. And right as our season was starting in last fall of 2021, we were actually the first day of practice was going to happen on Monday. We were headed to the fields to inventory, clean, organize the trailer with all of our equipment and stuff like that. And we show up on Sunday afternoon, and our trailer had been stolen
Oh man.
um, with all of our equipment. I mean, thousands of dollars, both the equipment, but then the trailer as well, and all that goes with that. And that was a huge deal for us. I mean, we just trying to really build things back, but that was a catalyst for our organization to really come together, and a chance where, I mean, the some different news outlets came out there and interviewed us and wanted to hear more about the event. We had a GoFundMe where we were able to raise a reasonable amount of money to replace some of that stuff. But it was, I mean, you never want bad things to happen, but you always want to look for the good in the bad. And it was an opportunity for our Unity family to rally around the struggle that we were going through. It was a chance for our families, for the kids, for the parents to see how to react when adversity hits. And it was a chance for us as leaders to be examples for our kids and to show them that just like they face adversity on the football field, or in the cheer line or in a basketball court, you're going to face adversity in life. And how you respond to the events that happen to you is more important than what happens to you.
That's right. That's such a valuable lesson for anybody of any age, really, because we all have adversity and we all face problems in our lives that, once you enter the business world, you really find out that most problems are disguised as opportunities if you're willing to look for them, right? And
Yep.
that's exactly what you just said. It's that mindset that you guys are instilling into your organization. That's super important. So, what age ranges are you guys working with right now?
Um, let's see. Our anywhere from as young as age 4 all the way
Okay.
up to about 13. That's really
Okay.
that's kids anywhere in there is for our different sports and events. That's where kids from age 4 all the way to 13.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, what do you find that the aside from the sports itself and playing within the sports, what do you find that the kids are most taking away? Like what are some of the values that you can tell that are really affecting the kids in their own personal lives by joining an organization like yours?
Yeah, I mean, we try to provide. I mean, our name is Unity Select Sports, and when people hear the word select, they always think of a exclusive club of individuals. And there are certainly events that we participate in that require a high level of commitment and skill. But at the same time, we try to provide opportunities for as many kids as possible that are in the this North Austin area that we work in, and we want to develop our athletes physically and mentally. We always say that goal, our the our purpose is not to win, but our goal is to win, because if your goal is not to win, then what are you out here preparing for? But we want to teach our athletes that there's a higher purpose than winning. For us at Unity, it's about cultivating a lifelong love of the sport that we're in, whether that's basketball or track or football, cheer, any of those things. It's about cultivating enjoyment and a love of those things. I mean, I'm 39 years old now, and I still love football. I still love
Yeah.
basketball. I still love all of those things that I did when I was a kid. And we try to focus our athletes not just on one sport, but on a lot of different sports, and encourage them to develop their athletic ability across the spectrum of all those things. One thing about doing different sports is that it broadens their base of experience, but it also teaches our kids, they learn how to learn new things. If you're just doing one thing, you might get sharper and sharper at that one thing, but then when that's gone, how are you going to pick up the next sport? How are you going to pick up the next subject? How are you going to pick up the next season? And so for us, doing different things teaches our kids how to learn. We want to promote inclusivity and unity. That's part of why our name is Unity. But we want to promote inclusivity and unity in our athletes, in our teams, and the families that participate in Unity sports. We want to develop character in our athletes, and at the same time, obviously, it's about sports, and so we want to, for our athletes, we want to help them develop the skills that it takes for them to be successful in those sports. So it's, at the end of the day, we think that the way that we practice and the way that we prepare our athletes put them in a position to win, but it's about so much more than just that.
That's right. And, dealing with adversity on the field helps deal with adversity in life, right? The harder you push yourself and the harder you struggle, when you choose to struggle, the better you respond to difficult situations out off the field, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned the word character as you were describing some of these things that you're developing within these kids. One of the most important things we can develop as a person is our character. And having said that, what's one of the things that you find in kids I won't go as young as 4, but let's say in your core group, from ages 7 to 12, in those years right there, those are very important character building years for a child. What is something that these kids lack coming into your organization that you've noticed uh, more than kids in our generation?
I think some of the things that, and it really is the things that I in turn focus on in my practices, and in our games, post game talks, half times, all of those type of things. The things that I think a lot of times the athletes that I work with in those ages is they either, and every athlete is different. Some are going to struggle. I'm going to give you three things, but some of the athletes struggle with one more than others, and some of them struggle across the spectrum. But I would say that number one, that they struggle to deal with adversity. What happens when things don't go your way? What happens when the play doesn't work out the way you want to, or you don't get the position, or you don't get the call for you? How do you respond to adversity? Also, just they don't they they want things. There are athletes who just want things given to them, whether it be success, or whether that be trophies, or whether that be celebrations, that they don't always associate the hard work that it takes to achieve those things. So when I'm working with athletes, I'm focusing on, hey, always do your best. Always give 100%. You can't, your 100% might not be as good as the guy next to you's 100%, but what you control is give 100%. Number two, pay attention to the little details. The little details are often what makes the difference between winning and losing, between being successful or not being successful. And so while you have to do your best, you have to do things in a right way. And then the third thing I mentioned before was how do you respond to adversity? Every opportunity, like we talked about before, every opportunity has a silver lining. You lose the game, good. It's an opportunity for you to test. You were tested, and now you know what you need to work on for the next game. You made a mistake on a rep. You missed a catch. Good. Those are opportunities for you to try again next time. For you to, once again, identify where you need to work harder, where you need to improve your skill. And then even when you're successful, like, don't get too caught up in the celebration. Obviously there are times to celebrate, but even youth sports, I can't remember one record. The first record I can ever remember in my youth is the record that my basketball team had when I was in high school as a senior year. Before that, I don't remember a single, barely any results even. And so these kids, they want to live and die by what the score was on the scoreboard, when they're not going to remember that. So this is so much bigger than that. And for me, the ability to
It's hard to
work.
quantify that in the moment when you're a kid, too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But for me, the ability to work with D at Unity, to be able to coach young athletes, to be able to work with kids, like, for me to see the growth in them, to see just the smiles on their faces, to see them meet a challenge and fail and go back again and win and fail, to see that development, for me, makes all of the time, the money, the energy that we sacrifice to be part of an organization like Unity, it makes all of that worth it in the end.
That's amazing. Well, I think it was number 2, but you mentioned something about, when we were discussing what, some kids lack these days, and something that you guys, of course, work on in the program is, wanting to be given something, or a sense of entitlement, as the way some people would phrase that. Um, People say all the time kids are entitled these days. Where do you guys stand on the everybody gets a trophy, participation trophy stance?
We and a lot of the stuff I'm following the lead of our president, D. I certainly have. The reason I'm at Unity is because I share those same values. But he's made it really clear that at Unity we don't give out participation trophies.
It's
If
amazing.
your team wins a trophy as part of the league or the tournament that you're part of, then we're going to celebrate that. And we want to celebrate the achievements that you've made this season by participating and growing, but we're not giving out participation trophies to athletes just for coming out. We're definitely not in that boat.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, there's a lot of leagues that me and my kids have participated in that they do still do that. And, it's some parents are okay with it. Some parents support that, and some parents highly disagree with it. I know it's kind of a sensitive topic, but, I agree with that. That's a form of entitlement that I think could be a character flaw later on in life when someone walks into a situation expecting something that may not have been earned. So yeah,
You
I
know,
support that stance as well.
when you were saying that, it also brought up another thing I was thinking about that is that one thing that is a difference between what I've seen when I was growing up or an attitude I might have had when I was growing up versus what I see now is that part of the reward is the process itself. The process of getting better, the work that you put in, and like just to be able to look at for yourself, seeing the difference that you make from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, that process and you seeing the success that you've had and the development that you've had going from here to going from here, like that is part of the reward in of itself. And I know for me, like that's always been very rewarding to me individually, but I mean, even with my kids, I got 3 kids, they're 6, 11, and 13. They don't get that. And I try to work on that
Right.
with them as well. And these are all part of the same things that for me, these are just life lessons. I'm a real estate agent. This is how I run my business. I run my business by working very hard. I run my business by paying attention to detail. I run my business by winning even in the losses. And so
Yes.
that's how we live our lives, and that's how you get to be successful adults. That's how you get to be responsible and adults of character, is by learning those lessons and learning that the kids learn those lessons as part of sports, and then they grow up and they realize that these aren't sports lessons; these are life lessons.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And it's not till you've experienced true hard work and grit that when you do achieve one of those goals that you've been working on for a long time, you realize that that goal wasn't really a destination, and that the love really does come in the process. And
Mhm.
let's use football as an example, or Tom Brady as an example. I use Tom Brady as an example all the time just because of his mindset. But uh, you win a Super Bowl. Well, you wake up the next morning like, shit, that wasn't my destination, because here I am and I'm still wanting more, right? So that was a goal. We hit it, but now we have to wake up and start worrying about the next one, right? And
Yep.
you gotta love and enjoy the process more than the actual destination. Um, so to learn that at an early age, you can't learn that at an early age in very many things, but sports is certainly one of those things that you can learn it in. And when you have great mentors at an organization like yours to teach you that, um, your kids are going to be leaps and bounds above their peers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, we hope that that we're developing our athletes not just physically, but mentally, and those
Absolutely.
lessons is part of that process.
That's right. So you mentioned you're a business owner. You said real estate, right?
Yeah. I'm part of the Kyle Pfaffe and Topher Rogers real estate group at TJ Lewis Real Estate. Our offices are in Austin, Texas, and we serve the Austin surrounding areas, some of the areas, same areas that we work in. For me, I mean, I love. Kind of stumbled into real estate. I was working for Coca-Cola here in Austin. Real estate was a part-time thing for a little bit, and then just gradually became a full-time thing. And that was a huge leap of faith to go from a being a W-2 employee to being an independent contractor. Live You only you survive by being successful. And if you're not successful, you don't get paid. But it was the same. It was the same lessons that I learned in sports and athletics that have enabled me to be successful in real estate. And we work with a lot of homeowners that are in the Central Austin area. But for me, as much as I love real estate is a part of my life that is that enables the rest of my life. I don't live for real estate. Real estate and my success in real estate as part of the team at TJ Lewis is what enables me to have time to spend coaching and developing athletes. It gives me the time to spend with my family. It gives me the opportunity to go on a vacation and get away and to develop my kids and to interact with them and mentor them and develop them. And so for me, I love real estate. Um, and
Yeah,
that,
that's right.
that sports do. But for me, it's about the opportunities that is provided, and I'm so thankful for all of that and for the opportunities that that's given me.
Yeah, and I would say if you're someone in the Austin area that wants to help develop and support some of these kids, you can do it very indirectly by getting with Kyle and purchasing some real estate. That way, he can fund keep providing resources for the organization, right, Kyle?
Yeah, the well, yeah, if you're in the Austin area, we'd love to serve you any way we can. And if you need, even if you have questions and you're not sure, maybe the Austin area, the market here, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Austin area, but and
Oh
really the
man,
market across America is crazy, but the Austin real estate market is on fire, and it's hard for buyers, it's easy for sellers,
right.
but that makes that makes every deal interesting. And if you have questions, we'd be honored to answer the questions or help you in any way we can.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to reach out to you either about Unity Select Sports or real estate, where can someone find you, Kyle?
Yeah, so for Unity Select Sports, our website is unityselectsports.com. You can go on, if you search on Facebook, Instagram, Unity Select Sports, we're on all of those as well. You'll be able to find us there. For real estate, movesmartpros.com is our website. And then our broker's website is TJ Lewis. That's TJLEWIS. Real estate.com. Those are our websites where you can find us. You can find us on Facebook and different things like that. But um, yeah, if we can help with sports, with real estate, we'd be honored to serve any way we can.
That's amazing. Well, what you're doing is incredible, and you know the members of the community and certainly the parents of all the kids that you're helping are truly grateful for what you guys are doing. It's very awesome. Where do you see Unity Select Sports in 5 years or 10 years? Where do you see this thing going?
Yeah, that's kind of a crazy question. I mean, I've been here a year and a half, and we went from last year at this time, we from last year to now, just in the 7-on-7, we've doubled in the number of athletes that participated in this in sport. Last 2 years ago in the fall with COVID, we tried to have a football season. We had about 40 kids that were signing up, but with COVID, everything shutting down, that didn't work out. This year, last year, this time, we were doing 7-on-7 with about 50 kids, and we're at over 100 kids with just this one sport right now. We grew from two teams in the fall in 2019 in 2020. 2021, we had 8 teams in that participated in tackle or flag football, and we're looking at this fall. We're looking at about, I think, 12 to 14 teams
Nice. That's almost double.
across all sports. So I think that there's a lot of soccer, there's a lot of baseball, and there's some other quality organizations in the area that also do football. But I think that there's not an organization that has the values, the culture, and the vision that we have at Unity. And I can only guess where the next 5 or 10 years are going to take us. But I mean, I think that we're going to have a lot of opportunities to help a lot more kids and to work with a lot more families to develop them physically and mentally. I'm excited.
That's awesome. And we'll end on this, Kyle. What would you say? is the most important thing? Let's say for parents who are considering enrolling their child into sports for the very first time, what is the best piece of advice you can give to one of these parents in relation to having that conversation with their kids?
In regards to having the conversation with their kids, well, I think that, I mean, sometimes we let our kids make the decisions for us. So sometimes we ask our kids, do you want to play or do you not want to play? And I think that too often we let our kids make that decision versus signing them up for new things that are going to make them uncomfortable and that are going to challenge them and that are going to develop them. So there's times that my kids don't want to do things that I still sign them up for. Part of it is because they don't want to be challenged. And part of it is because they want to be lazy. They want to sit at home and sit on their play their Xbox or sit on their phone. And
Yeah.
so there are times where we have to challenge them to do things that make them uncomfortable. We're not trying to embarrass them, but the only way they grow is by being stretched. But I think on the other side is also asking your kids what are their goals? What do they want to be involved with? Do they just want to have fun? Do they want to be really developed? Do they want to be challenged more physically than, I mean, there's some, because there's a wide range of sports organizations. There's some organizations that are, hey, you know what, show up on a Sunday afternoon, you're going to practice for 30 minutes, then you're going to have a quasi game. And there are other organizations that require more commitment. You're practicing 3-4 times a week, and you're going to be challenged. You're going to be developed in a greater way. And so both you as a parent and your child figuring out what do they want. And when they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe that's a different conversation than when they're 10, 11, 12, 13, maybe getting ready for middle school, getting ready for high school. So that's some of the conversations that I know that we have in our family and that I encourage parents to have. And as parents are evaluating what organizations that they're going to be a part of, you have to think about what's your goal as a parent. I mean, I think that most of us want our kids to be involved in positive environments that are going to challenge them, but environments that are not going to destroy them when they make a mistake. So you want environments that are going to have a positive impact on your kids and that are going to encourage them to develop a love for those same sports. So, I mean, don't just look at the how flashy a website is or how good the graphic is that a league or a sports team puts up on social media, but ask them questions of their board, ask the questions of their coaches and figure out, is this the culture that we want our family to be involved with? Because ultimately you're trusting them, those coaches, you're trusting that organization with your child for hours a week. And what type of organization do you want to have that type of influence on your kid? And that's a big deal. So I would really challenge and encourage parents to evaluate the organizations that they're considering being a part of in that same way.
Yeah, do a little due diligence on the commitment that you're making for your child. I think you
Yeah,
nailed it
it's
on
your
the head.
kids.
All right.
Yep.
Kyle Pfaffe, thanks for coming on Mission 1000 podcast. It was a pleasure. And we will talk soon, my friend.
All right. Thanks for having me, Jordan.
All right. Take it easy.